Hello, welcome back to the channel, and if you haven't already seen our other videos, please go and check them out. Here is another Wrestling Weekly podcast.
So the way we're going to be doing it, we're going to be running through the shows, starting off with last week's Raw, and then we'll hit news, rumours and all that sort of thing.
Everything what you all want to know.
Yeah. So basically, as I say, we're starting off with Raw. So last week's Raw, so the 14th of October. First match they had on the card, Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair. It was originally supposed to be Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks, but the way they led into it, WWE was saying that Sasha Banks had sustained an injury from Hell in the Cell and wasn't able to compete. But again, no idea whether that was actually WWE telling the truth for a change or whether they were working it because now that Sasha got drafted to SmackDown in the first night of the draft, whether they just didn't want her on Raw to be like, well, we've already drafted her. It'd be pretty stupid to have a SmackDown star on Raw because we're saying
Probably because she's been drafted.
Yeah. Premise of the match anyway, it was your typical winner of the match gets the first choice for their show. But at the same point, the rules were stating that because Raw is a longer show, Raw gets 3 draft picks for every 2 that SmackDown gets. So basically, near enough, the result was already given away because he did the same on SmackDown the previous week with Reigns and Rollins. Even though that ended in a DQ, it was still a victory for Rollins and Raw getting the first pick. So yeah, basically, Becky Lynch wins with a crucifix roll up pin. Going back to the roll ups, how they're EWE.
Yeah, exactly.
But later on the night, Charlotte Flair will get drafted to Raw anyway. So are they setting up this? Is this going to be Lynch's next opponent for the title? Charlotte Flair getting yet another title shot? I mean, does she get it because of...
I won't be surprised, from WWE's point of view.
Well, to be fair, let's face it, you take out the so-called 4 horsewomen, what female talent do they really have that they're pushing at the moment?
To be honest, WWE's women's division is a bit like AEW's, not up to much at this moment in time. Like I said in the previous video, Impact's knockout women's division is the best in the business.
You're saying similar to AEW's. Only difference with that, no respect to AEW, they're only 3 weeks into their run. Okay, they've had
Don't get me wrong.
Specials.
They have got some good women talent, but they need work, some of them.
From their point of view, yeah, they're working it. WWE have had flipping, what was it, 4 years ago, they announced the Women's Revolution. Again, another thing that Vince gets behind to begin with, and then it just sort of seems to peter out and just sort of comes across as like an even trying with it. One
thing Impact's got absolutely spot on is their women's division.
And like we said in previous videos, the whole Becky Lynch as champion is just wearing...
She's too in your face.
Yeah, but at the same point, Charlotte Flair's now had 10 title reigns, so if she's being lined up as the next challenger, I don't even want her as champion.
Would you even say those two are actually good actual wrestlers to be a champion? Yeah, she's Ric Flair's daughter, Charlotte Flair, but does she deserve...
She is athletic. Maybe a couple of reigns, but it's a case of now, has she had that many title reigns because of who her father is?
Or is she going to equal or beat her father's title reigns?
It's being said, well, which reigns are we talking about? Are we talking about WWE's version or the actual version?
Well, I'll go the actual version.
And even then, the actual version, you don't really know.
No, you don't.
It's somewhere around the mid to late 20s mark.
It is.
25, 27 reigns has been mentioned, but yeah.
But as for Becky Lynch, is she that good? Oh, she's an Austin persona sort of character, but...
Yeah, but again, the way WWE do it, they pushed her so much, it's got to that point where it's just like, yeah, she's been forced down so much now that it's just a case of, don't want it. I don't know how many other people are still enjoying it, but I think it's just a case of, but again, it's the same thing, like you say, the Austin thing, they've done that. Why the hell do you have to keep on rehashing things? Doing an Austin style, not just with Becky Lynch, but Kevin Owens slightly as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he's got the stunner. he's gone up against Shane McMahon as the authority figure. And again, the authority, how many times did he try to rehash that?
Too many times.
It was only good when it was Vince and Austin. Every other time they tried it,
doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Maybe you lot actually don't agree with what we're saying, but this is just our opinion. In my opinion, it doesn't work.
Maybe they've not been using the right wrestler, the right authority figure, but the ones they've been doing it with just haven't gelled. But at the same time, they really need to start doing new things instead of trying to rehash old things.
Yeah, instead of bringing legends back all the time.
Yeah. Oh.
Use the talent they've got.
Part-timers.
Then again, they have got too many talent on the roster. It's been said numerous of times. They just want to sign all the independent wrestlers so no of the other companies could even touch them. So they want to be the dominant force. And look at it, they've got too much talent. They don't know what to do with the talent they've got. And when you do have a really good talent on the roster, you get ruined. You get destroyed.
Again, sometimes that does come down to the divide between the main roster and NXT, because obviously some of them come through NXT firstly, but then it's like, yeah, groom them for the main roster, and then Vince either takes them up not knowing what to do with them, or because they're not his to begin with, he's either destroying them on purpose, or he's just that out of touch. He doesn't know what to do with them.
Well, they have ruined talent in the past. Wade Barrett, never world champion. Now he should have been world champion.
But again, I think now with Wade Barrett, I think it was a case of, yeah, it was good the fact they were giving him title opportunities, but I think he was one of those. I'm not saying he wasn't ready, but it did seem at the time it's like he'd only been on the main roster for 5 or 6 months before he was getting title shots.
Oh, come on, he's got Rollins as champion.
Yeah, well, this is it. It's like some are just handpicked, or some are the teacher's
Oh, he is
pets.
a yes man from his Twitter outbursts.
Yeah.
All the time. He can't shut his mouth up. Someone needs to control his Twitter account, because the stuff he comes out with is just a load of rubbish.
Yeah. But moving on to the next match. Not a bad match on paper. Andre versus Ali. Two gifted wrestlers. Ali's a sort of high flyer. Basically, that one finishes with Andre hitting Ali with the Hammerlock DDT. He'd only just been drafted to Raw. Coincidentally, he's dating Charlotte Flair. So
what a surprise!
This is a pattern that seemed to emerge from the draft. As in previous drafts where they'd separate partners, they seem to have kept a lot of them together. Charlotte and Andre, Carmella and Corey Graves are on SmackDown together.
Even though he never wanted to know relationships back in the day, he didn't want it to know that you're going out with someone. He didn't want it publicised.
Yeah. Oh, and of course, how could you forget Lana and Lashley, or is it Lana and Rusev?
Who knows?
Yeah,
Could be a three-way.
Yeah, I mean that storyline's just
ridiculous,
yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah, but again, another one, as they're calling it, a cuckoldery storyline or something.
I think so.
But again, you think they'd have enough with one, because you've already got the one with Maria Kanellis and her husband Mike.
Yeah.
And it's just like, but yeah. So yeah, I'd say just a straightforward one there. Next match on the card was for the Raw Tag Team titles. Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler. Your typical thrown together tag team at the last minute that somehow become champions. We've never seen that before. Defending against the Viking Raiders. Basically an act that Vince is actually working quite well. I don't think they've lost on the main roster. If they have, it's been a screwy finish or something, but I can't remember. But yeah, basically the Viking Raiders win that match, hitting the Viking Experience finishing move. So yeah, new Raw champions there, Raw Tag Team champions. As I say, the way they're being pushed now, it looks like they'll be dominant ones. Rumours going around at the moment that AOP, who were signed as free agents later on in the week, are gonna be built up to be the challengers for their titles. So yeah, that'll make more sense, because two powerhouse tag teams are actually credible threat for the Viking Raiders. Then next up, Aleister Black defeated Eric Young with a submission move, his Dark Ritual. But again, this was just one of these matches to just get Aleister Black over. They didn't use a jobber or a flipping local enhancement talent, but Eric Young basically might as well be, because Vince hasn't really done much with him since he brought him up from the main roster. Came up with Sanity, and then Vince, again, another NXT call that he completely ruined, and Eric Young's just been stuck in the mire for ages. So I just see him being served up to stars that he's trying to push, make flipping bigger. So we expect to see.
That's because Vince is probably out of touch with NXT. At one point, he didn't even watch NXT.
He probably still doesn't. But yeah, I'd expect Eric Young somewhere in the next couple of weeks to probably face Drew McIntyre, because rumours with McIntyre re-debuting this week, they seem to want to start pushing him again. Seems a bit strange, considering he flipping died off on his push last time. So again, that may be a little bit too late, but we'll get on to McIntyre later on in the video. Next up, another on paper decent wrestling match. Ricochet defeating Shelton Benjamin. Hits him with the recoil. Again, solid wrestling match there. Ricochet. I hope that Vince gives him a push at some point, but again, he could fall into another one of those acts that basically the fans adore, but Vince just doesn't see it. Then next up was what we like to do, a contract signing. Braun Strowman and Tyson Fury's contract signing for the Crown Jewel event next week. Strangely enough, for a contract signing, no physical altercation, even though Strowman did break the table with his bare hands, again trying to get Strowman across as being the brute who can basically do everything apart from win a world title.
To be honest, I just think he's all muscle. I honestly don't rate him.
But this, again, it was a shocker when he got pulled up to the main roster. I don't really remember him doing much on NXT. Then all of a sudden he comes in as a member of the Wyatt family.
Don't get me wrong, he's a big guy, but
again,
is he a world champion sort of guy?
Not really. He's another one of these wrestlers that Vince must have wet dreams about. But when it gets to the actual finishing line, he just doesn't quite believe in him.
He focuses too much on a heavyweight being muscly.
Yeah.
That's his problem.
And plus, at the same point, I think he's one of these. He's got Strowman as his sort of, he's the dominant force for a conquering baby hero to overcome. But eventually that gets to the point, it's like, well, he's had half a dozen title matches. He's come up short every single time. There must be a point where it's like, Vince, how can you push a wrestler like that when he can't win the so-called big one? Eventually people are just going to tire of him. But basically, yeah, in retaliation, Tyson Fury, I don't know how they were trying to put this across, whether they were trying to put it across as Fury mocking Strowman or trying to put Fury across as being weak, but he attempts to snap a pen in half and can't do it.
Yeah.
But again, I think in hindsight now, when you look back at it, I think Fury did leave the ring smirking, so I think it was more of a case of, oh, you're so tough, Strowman.
Apparently a lot of people didn't want him to actually go to WWE.
Yeah, because this is it. Like we
I
said
think
previously...
I think his father didn't want him to go to WWE.
Like we said previously, it's like he's in there for his kids, even though on screen he's coming across more the fact of, oh yeah, I've been a WWE fan for years and years. But then again, how many of these celebrities that come in have been fans for years?
Oh, they say that. It's probably in the contract when you sign, where you got to say you were a fan for so many years, or I'll give you X amount of money.
Well, to be fair, it doesn't really sell shows, does it? Why are you here? Well, I've never watched the show before, but Vince offered me a couple of £1 million to compete, so I couldn't say no. And especially with Fury's got, like, Cain Velasquez, even though Cain Velasquez has apparently signed a multi-year contract, which I find it hard to believe because apparently they don't know what they're going to do with him after the Lesnar storyline. So again, I think that comes down to the fact of AEW wanted him, and it was just a case of...
But they didn't table an offer, though.
Yeah.
I think, because Cody worked for him in AAA, yeah, Cody would have wanted him, but I don't think Tony Khan was that fussed in signing him because he didn't offer him a deal. They didn't match Vince's because he didn't offer him a deal, so...
With what's happened this past week, which we'll get onto later, at the same point, Velasquez isn't the finished product anyway. He's not the polished product in a wrestling sense. He may be a UFC trained fighter, but the way he was this past week, he isn't anywhere near being a good wrestler.
So did AEW get away with signing him?
No, let's face it, it's Vince's forte. I mean, half the wrestlers he's got on his card can't wrestle anyway, so he just fits in nicely.
That's true.
But yeah, Fury's coming right point, as I say, Velasquez as well. The Saudi show, so they're going to get mega bucks for the first match they have, or Fury's only match with the company. You'd expect them to both get at least $1 million out of that, if not more.
More, I reckon.
Because obviously the Saudis are just throwing money at the wall, and they've proved over the last year or so they don't even understand wrestling anyway. With half the demands he'd made. But
he wanted Yokozuna to enter the match, and what was he? He's
an
dead.
Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just like, okay.
Well, yeah, it's been come back from the dead.
And it's like
a dream match from heaven. Yeah. Ultimate Warrior versus Yokozuna.
And it just seems to be the fact they want to make themselves, they want to put it across as all Saudi Arabia can be bigger than Mania. But let's face it, we've had the greatest Royal Rumble, and just a 50-man Royal Rumble. It didn't give anything. Strowman got a title for it. Didn't get a push from it. Got to have the Best in the World Cup, even though that created the Shane McMahon character that we all loved to hate. And this year, they're going with the biggest tag team turmoil match. Again, they've only had the biggest one this year. So it's just, yeah.
Just Vince to line his pocket full of more money.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's that one. Moving on, then, another decent wrestling match. Cruiserweight match this time. Two competitors who competed against each other on 205 Live previously. Buddy Murphy defeating Cedric Alexander, hitting the Murphy's Law there. Again, these two. Apparently, Heyman is high on Cedric Alexander, but at the same point, it's whether Vince wants to push him or not. Same with Buddy Murphy. So we'll just have to see how that one goes. Then next up, they had the women's tag team champions, non-title match. So Kairi Sane and Asuka defeated the odd pairing of Natalya and her mystery opponent, which turned out to be Lacey Evans, the woman she'd been feuding with for the past 200 or 300 years. But again, Vince all over.
Bad booking again.
Yep. And considering Lacey Evans had been drafted to SmackDown, so it throws into that disarray of, once they're on a show, they can't compete on the one no wild card rule. So, yep. But yeah, nothing really to note there. Just the fact of yet another mismatch. Flipping throw rivals together, even though Natalya put it across like, I needed someone to be my partner who had proved themselves to me in all this. Just doesn't make sense. And yeah, that was basically the main event. So we have another women's match for a main event. And then afterwards, we get the infamous Seth Rollins and Bray Wyatt segment, Firefly Funhouse. And yeah, basically, just because Vince can't let us have nice things, Seth Rollins somehow manages to get into the Firefly Funhouse, even though it's not really been put across as being, being put across as being in the real world. We're not too sure what it is yet, trying to work out whether it's Bray Wyatt's mind or somebody else's mind, but the fact that
he burns it down.
Yes, and then just the coyness of it, I'm going to burn it down. Congratulations, Seth Rollins, you can say your catchphrase.
Apparently, rumour has it, Fox didn't want it on their network, a character like The Fiend. Yep. Apparently that was the rumour.
But, to no pun intended, to burn down that argument, the Firefly Funhouse is re-debuting on SmackDown this week.
All right.
So, again, it just seems to be, I don't know, is that rumours being spread out, or is that just Fox not knowing what they want?
I think it's Fox not knowing what they actually want.
Or is it more the case of Fox want the Firefly Funhouse on their network, but with it being burnt down, it's going to be recreated to be different, to be on their network?
I just think you don't know what they want. Yeah, like you say, they may want their own style of it, but I just don't know what they want.
Yeah, but again, Fox seems to be trying to control a lot of things at the moment. This past week, I think it was them, they were they went to Twitter to ask the WE fans to stop the what chants. Apparently it's not the year 2000 anymore. So that's good. You've only just come screening the wrestling shows and you're already telling your fans what they can do and what they can't do.
Nothing much worse than what Vince does.
Yeah.
Turning people away wearing AEW t-shirts and they have to cover them up. I mean, that doesn't bode well for him, does it? Don't get much respect from that.
It's not new though.
I know it's not new, but it's happened. I know, but it's happened again though. It's happened again though. You don't turn away a band just because wearing another company's t-shirt. I mean, you want that person's money, you want respect from the fans, then you let any fan into the arena. AEW doesn't turn away WWE fans wearing the shirts. They even said that when they first started. You won't turn away fans wearing WWE shirts. But WWE are making it more of a rivalry than AEW are making it more of a rivalry.
I think it just comes down to the fact that Vince has never really cared about the fans. It's always been about what he wants. And at the same point, on the AEW side, they can't really afford to alienate the fans anyway by saying you can't turn up in...
No, they didn't say that though. You won't do it. There's a thing. They have respect for the fans. That's the thing.
Oh no, I'm not saying that, but at the same point, I'm just saying the counter-argument is the fact that even if they wanted to, they can't really afford to alienate...
No, they can't, but at least they respect the fans in the process.
But then again, some of the fans are just doing it just to rile.
They may be, yeah, but you still don't turn away the fans. If you go to a football match and say you go to... Let's say you go to a United match, but wear a Chelsea shirt. Would the people on the gate turn away that Chelsea supporter because he wears a Chelsea shirt?
No, because their theory is if you're stupid enough to turn up with
maybe he got a free ticket back with his mate to watch, to go to Old Trafford to watch United. It can happen. I've done it. Maybe, and they don't get turned away just because he's wearing that Chelsea shirt. Yeah, maybe he should cover it up. Yeah, but he still won't be turned away at the gates. Same difference between WWE.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, there are obviously football fans flipping much different to... Because basically wrestling fans, it's just a case of they'll turn up with whatever. It won't alienate anybody anyway. From the other's point of view with that, it's going to be the case of if you turn up in a Chelsea shirt and Chelsea aren't playing, and you just basically going
some fans do it. I've been to games. Some fans who just genuinely just do it. Don't rile them, some of them. They just wear the shirt.
Yeah. No, it's some. I know what you're saying. In some cases, it's like their own stupidity. But yeah. I've done
it. So
it just Vince being Vince. As long as he's making his money, he's not fucking bothered. Because the shows aren't changing that much, even with AEW's arrival. I think it's just the case of Vince probably thinks I've survived so much, it's just another company basically. But I'll still poke the bear just for
losing a lot of respect though. I mean, he tried to buy Noah from Japan, failed in that respect.
Yeah, well that was a stupid idea anyway, the old NXT Japan thing.
It will be hard for him to buy a company in Japan because the fans are much different to the Americans and the British. They idolise Japanese wrestling. It was even hard to have the, Kenny Omega style group, the group in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Well, yeah, this is the thing. I mean, with the NXT Japan thing, there have been rumours that after they did NXT UK that they were going to move on and try and expand the NXT brand, but would have assumed. Well, there was rumours going around that Mexico was going to be the next one. I know what you're saying with Japan. Japan is one of those. It's more the case for the not including the Asian market, but it's a fact of
the fans
America coming in.
The fans didn't want storylines in Japan, did they? They
No.
just wanted it wrestling. And when that group,
the Bullet Club.
There you go, the Bullet Club.
Balor Club, but Bullet Club. But yeah, but again, I think that was just a case of Japan were trying to do it one way, but they realised at that point wrestling had evolved, and if they didn't change, the business was going to leave them behind. So they had to do something. And like we say, Omega win the first G1 tournament as a non-Japanese star, trying to add the diversity in there. So
I think he got Wrestler of the Year in 2018, I think, as well.
Something like that. He's been one of the standout.
He's one of the most respected.
American or North American.
He's one of the most respected in Japan, basically. One of the wrestlers.
But yes, again, it's never going to work. Even though the no deal's fallen through, I can't see them doing an NXT Japan anyway. Because like we say, they got New Japan Pro Wrestling. Obviously, them trying to buy Noah, so Noah Wrestling. Then
I'd like to know how much he offered Noah though.
It depends whether because I don't know, are they on the knees at the moment, or is it just?
From what I can guess, they're doing all right.
So
I've not had any troubles with any of the Japanese companies.
So again, it's just WWE.
That's just Vince trying to take over the world.
Well, yeah, it's that and WWE just throwing money around, trying to call it? Like it's Vince and Triple H. Because again, I don't think Vince has anything to do with the UK brand. So we'll just have to watch this space on that one, really.
Moving on now
to Wednesday night's wrestling action.
We'll talk about AEW Dynamite. Now, the show started with Christopher Daniels getting injured by Pentagon Jr. It was actually a real injury. Power drived onto the steel ramp where you could actually see Daniels' neck hit the floor. Unprovoked attack by the Lucha Bros, which brought out Kazarian, who took his place in the match because they were about to face the Best Friends in a tag team tournament match round 1. Eventually, the SCU actually did win the match. So I don't know how long Christopher Daniels will be out for. It's not specified, but he's going to be out a while he recovers. I don't know whose fault it was with the injury. Was Daniels not in the right position? Was Pentagon do it too quick?
Again,
what do you reckon?
From what I've seen from Pentagon, I mean, his movesets aren't exactly... I'm not going to say he's an unsafe wrestler, but his moveset is quite a brutal moveset, shall we say.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
He's not your typical wrestler, shall we say. So it's possible, even though he thought the move was safe, it might have been a slight movement. Sometimes you do have this in wrestling matches where they just move slightly away. That net breaks instance in the past. Power bombs where they just don't. Well, some they say sandbagging, the infamous Hardcore Holly incident with Lesnar. Even to this day, you got one side saying that Holly sandbagged him because Lesnar was still technically a rookie at that point.
Yeah.
And then the other side, it's like Lesnar claimed he didn't do it on purpose, and Pritchard's come out on his podcast and basically said that Lesnar did try and find Hardcore after the match to apologise for it.
Lesnar can be rough in the ring as well.
Yeah, it was rough because obviously he came in as a rookie, so his moveset was, again, powerhouse, risky. So yeah, there's possibility for injuries back then.
I just hope Christopher Daniels recovers, but doesn't have the Austin style recovery where he just continues with a neck injury and makes it worse, basically. I just hope he fully recovers gets back to his normal self. But with a neck injury, it's hard to tell.
Well,
with a neck injury.
As long as AEW are as safe with the wrestlers as other companies are, again, I think WWE got a bit more stricter when it came to injuries like that. I think they've been lapsed in the past, but I think now, if there's any case of anything like that, it's a case of they basically do not let them come back to in-ring action until they've got the all clear from medical. So as long as it's handled rightly, I shouldn't see him coming back too soon.
I really think Kazarian and Scott Sky weren't happy with the injury either. It makes to think it was Pentagon's fault. I really think they weren't not going to say pissed off, but they weren't happy with this situation, put it that way. Which can understand their point of view.
Again, you got two sides.
But it's wrestling, you know what you're getting yourself in for.
This is it, that's what I was going to say. You don't know with that. It could have been real, it could just have been put on for the show itself. You never really know in that instance.
So the injury was real.
So yeah, well then it is a bit of a stupid outcome. But again, it might have been on.
I thought it weren't real at first, but when I checked the internet,
it may be. But again, it could have been an on the spot decision. Although it's a real injury, put a bit of realism into it to show anger with it. Or like you say,
maybe, yeah.
Or like you say, because it's a proper injury, it could have been just a case of, we are legitimately annoyed at that.
And another match, you had Santana and Ortiz making their debut as a tag team in All Elite Wrestling. They defeated John Silver and Alex Reynolds after a street sweeper onto Silver. They're becoming a thriving part of the Inner Circle after joining from Impact. They are one of the best tag teams.
Well, it's always good to see groups emerging. So what, just expand the group or original members of the group?
No, it's they're in the Inner Circle.
Oh, they're in the
Inner Circle. That's the end of the Inner Circle.
Well, as I said,
they're a good addition to All Elite Wrestling.
Well, as I say, with that one, because of the faction they've got, it's because they're under the tutelage of Jericho, it can only bode well for them, because a lot of these groups, I said last week, are like nurturing of the talent.
I still think they're building them up, and Jericho's group, Jericho will actually help with that. But eventually you'll have tag team champions in the making.
Are they going to be one of those groups who start to dominate, like you said? Because obviously Jericho being world champion, then becoming tag champions.
I think at first you'll see them trying to dominate. Yeah, you will. But hopefully you'll see the Elite form a group together. It'll be the Elite versus the Inner Circle. But I hope it's not like the WCW versus the NWO type stable, because you're in WCW or you're in the NWO. Now I hope you don't do you're in the Elite or you're in the Inner Circle. I can't see them going like that, but
well, that comes back to what we were saying earlier on in the video, basically rehashing old storylines.
But I do like the Inner Circle, so if you work it correctly, it'll be good it'll be a good addition to All Elite Wrestling.
Yeah, you need to stay away from the NWO style thing, because, as we say, it's been done before, plus the fact we all remember how out of control that got in the end.
That's basically one of the reasons WCW failed, basically. It was great at first, but too many members.
Well, that and the fact of at least two of the original members were egomaniacs who just had to win all the matches. What, you mean
creative control?
Yeah, exactly. But that was the other thing that killed them off as well. You don't give creative control to your superstars, otherwise that does run amok. I know Vince doesn't exactly run his company very well, but you can imagine if he gave creative control to some of his superstars.
So it looks like he did back in the 90s. Some of the wrestlers didn't want to get beat, like to Triple H, Austin, Jim Michaels.
Well, Triple H, yeah, he was just handed the reins, eventually becoming what he is now. Shawn Michaels, we all know the rumours there, but obviously I think those rumours of relationships were just basically blown out more, but you never know. And yeah, Austin, I think that was more the case of, oh, that was Vince's next project, and Vince seems to go all in with ones like that, because you don't have to look at it. Austin was the next Hogan, and then obviously you had Cena, and now obviously Reigns, even though he's not pushing as much at the moment. But yeah, Vince just seems to have that thing of, if he sees dollar signs for a wrestler, he'll just go, right, they gotta win all the matches, or if they lose, they're just gonna not lose cleanly. Because again, Triple H hardly got beat clean, Austin hardly got beat clean, Cena, Taker, the list goes on.
We can talk about that all night.
Yeah, but maybe save that for another video.
Yeah, exactly. Right, we had another AEW tournament match, round 1. Lucha Bros beat Marco Stunt and Jungle Boy. Reason Luchasaurus wasn't involved in this match, I think he had a hamstring injury, so he was pulled. So that's why Marco Stunt took the reins. Which people slag Marco Stunt off for being a small guy in a wrestling ring. And like what's previously been stated this week, Jericho said, like when he was with Rey Mysterio back in WCW back in the day, a lot of people didn't like Rey Mysterio for his size. But like Jericho said, look how he turned out. One of the greatest wrestlers of all time, cruiserweights.
But again, that was again WCW being WCW. The cruiserweights were another victim of the NWO back in the day.
Yeah, they were saying he was too small to wrestle, but
unless you were
even Jericho's not exactly massive, but yeah, he's bigger than Marco Stunt, and Rey Mysterio.
But it came down to the fact, if you weren't in the NWO and you were a cruiserweight, then you were just basically buried down the cards.
This match was actually, it showed Marco Stunt and Jungle Boy really well as a tag team without Luchasaurus. Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus were a good team, but Marco Stunt added to the mix really well. It worked as a tag team, so they can take the reins while Luchasaurus is out injured. He shouldn't really getting sagged off as much. Marco Stunt, he's not big, but if you see some of his matches, he's got the talent, the speed.
But again, size isn't everything.
That's what I mean, size isn't everything in wrestling. You can be the biggest guy in wrestling and be absolutely rubbish.
Well, yeah, really, you're looking at, for your normal, decent wrestler, he's not the biggest. You might get some athletic big guys, as he likes to say, but the majority, your best wrestlers are your sort of lower 200s to maybe 240 ones. So yeah, won't really put much into that if he's a big wrestler and he's not fine-tuned his skill set yet.
Another match, women's title defence for the first time. Riho defends her title against the Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. Story short, Riho won the match as Baker tried to use the lockjaw, her finishing move, but Riho rolled her up for the pin, and it was good because you don't really see. It's good the way you end matches in a roll-up, not knowing how the match is going to end. It's like, in a submission, rolls Baker up for the 3 count. You don't really see that a lot.
Well, unless you're watching Vince's product, he likes to use that manoeuvre a lot of the
No,
time.
I mean, yeah, but if you're in a submission, countering the submission into the win, basically. It's alright doing, like, a small package if you're in standing and do a small package to win the match, but in a submission, reverse it into a roll-up. That's not seen a lot, would you say? In that sense, reversing
not
it into
recently.
a win.
It is a finish that's pulled out occasionally, but yeah, I know what you're saying. It's not very often that it gets pulled out.
Baker still needs a bit of work in the ring. She's still a bit lackluster. She's a bit ring rusty. Yeah, she has had a concussion in the past for AEW, one of the pay-per-views, but there's still work to be done with Baker. There's something in her to be women's champion, but it's just not yet. Whether that'll be in a few months' time remains to be seen. But Riho, good wrestler from Japan. Not the biggest wrestler. She's also a small wrestler. Overcome the odds to beat Nyla Rose for the title. Under the influence of Kenny Omega. So, we'll see how she turns out as champion. The fans actually do respect her, actually love Riho. So she's got respect from the fans.
Well, like you say, the women's division's only just being developed, so...
Yeah, I am being a bit harsh at being... It needs a lot of work. There is some good talent on there, but they need a few more additions to actually improve the women's division. They need more matches on the card. Because, like, last week, Dynamite, you had one women's match on the main card, Riho. Well, basically, this match, Riho versus Britt Baker. If they want to work the women's division more, they could be having another match on the card, as other women could be on the card fighting. Would you agree?
Again, that just comes down to the talent they've got, and again, with them building the division up, whether the don't want to say whether the talented enough, just basically if they're tuned in enough to actually be able to wrestle, because you don't want to just throw talent on the show for the sake of it, because again, that's what Vince did when he started the women's revolution. It was all about women hero, first women Hell in a Cell, first women main event in the pay-per-view, flipping first all women's pay-per-view, even though that was a blatant lie.
Don't get me wrong, you haven't won the dark matches, women's matches. I just mean could have had another match on the actual main card, but maybe that's a work in progress. They're working the women's division slowly, building it up.
Yeah, I think you're saying that the women's division isn't a finely polished thing at the moment. I think
They'll
it's
get
a more
there.
sensible thing to basically less is more. Basically, you don't want to just be putting a couple of women's matches on the card just for the sake of putting women on the card.
They'll get there with the women's division. It's going to take a bit of time, but they'll get there.
Yeah, it's just time and patience with that one, I think.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that one. Another match, Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page versus Jon Moxley and Pac. Funny moment in the match. Moxley gets a bit annoyed in the ring and actually does the Death Rider to Pac and then just leaves the ring and walks straight back to the backstage, which means Kenny Omega and Adam Page won the match. And in doing that, that set up a match for this week's Dynamite, which is Jon Moxley versus Pac, which you could see part of the match, Kenny Omega, Jon Moxley getting a bit frustrated, annoyed. He didn't take it. I don't think he took it seriously enough. I mean, that's just his character. But then, when he did that to Pac in centre of the ring, he was like, okay, Jon Moxley just wants to destroy his tag team partners now. He just wants to be alone.
In fairness, he's always betrayed this. I mean, okay, yeah, he was in the Shield, but he's been a loner in some of his other storylines, so it's not too far-fetched an idea. He just wants to be on his own sort of thing. And even when he had tag partners in WWE, he got betrayed sometimes anyway, so I know obviously they probably won't bring that in as a storyline, but...
Pac's actually helped him, well, a bit of the way, where he hit Cody Rhodes over the head with a chair, Kenny Omega over the head with a chair, and then just walks off. So, and then this is how he repays him. It'll be a good match, though. It'll be a good match to see. Jon Moxley versus Pac.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably just the tried and tested thing of two people in a tag team that don't want to tag together. And instead of just doing the Vince approach of just having them wrestle together as a tag team and win the titles, actually have some.
It was a good way to add a match to the next show. Good way to do it.
So yeah, at least they're not following that trend of have two rivals tagging together so they can go after tag titles.
Well, yeah. You had the main event, Darby Allin going for the title shot against Chris Jericho. Darby Allin gives Jericho a run for his money in the match. I mean, towards the end of the match, he was taped behind his back and he was still doing flips, moves, quick, and landed on his feet. So that shows athleticism from his point of view, which he did earn the match after beating Jimmy Havoc the previous week. Obviously, I knew Jericho was going to win the match. Jake Hager interfered in the match at the end. And then Jericho hits the wall to Jericho on him. Wins the match. But we knew it was going to happen. But the thing with that match is Darby Allin came out of that match with credibility. He gave Jericho a run for his money, so it didn't loosen Darby Allin to any point. He got credibility out of the match, and Jericho won the match with help, but won the match. So he came out of it all right because he still got the title.
Well,
so
yeah,
it was a win-win for both, basically.
Yeah, well, as he said last week, the title was never coming off Jericho. It was just a case of how he was going to.
It's helped Darby Allin's career in AEW, I think.
Well, yeah, strong in defeat, because you don't want to be chucking in a bit, not a rookie, but you don't want to be chucking someone in who's not ready for the title yet.
Yeah.
Against a champion who's obviously being set up to have either a decent run or basically to have a strong title defence when he eventually does lose a title.
At the end of the match, all the Inner Circle wrestlers joined the ring in celebrations with champion, as Jericho would say. Good thing, on Dynamite, he had a very well-worked video package with Cody Rhodes about challenging for the title against Chris Jericho at Full Gear. It showed him in the office, a load of paperwork, being busy. So I think that if he doesn't win the title, I think they're going to go with the thing with he was busy, a lot to do. He didn't have time to properly prepare for the match. But
again, if you go with that one can come across as like, well, really, you have. If you're using that as an excuse, maybe it's saying you decided what you want to be, a competitor or a boss, basically. But again,
he wants to win the title for his family Rhodes legacy as well. So he may not go with that. He may not do, but
as we said previously, it is.
He wants to win it for his. Well, he wanted to win it for his father when his father was alive. But he can't. He wants to win it in his memory.
We still think it's too early for him to become champion anyway.
Yeah, I still think Jericho will retain the title, but how it will be retained to help both wrestlers out. Will Cody want to lose cleanly, or will Jericho have help from the Inner Circle?
It's probably going to be another distraction one. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you'd hope that Cody would want to lose cleanly, but the way Jericho's being billed at the moment, he's got, like you say, he's got his Inner Circle, so unless you actually want to give the fans a proper match with a proper conclusion, you're probably going to see at least one member of that Inner Circle getting involved, either attacking Cody or just distracting him enough so that Jericho gets the victory.
Yeah. Now I'll move on to AEW Dark. Yeah, it wasn't straight after Dynamite last week. It airs on Tuesdays, but I'll just mention the results now. You had Joey Janela beating Brandon Cutler. Joey Janela, I do like Joey Janela. Good talent, nice guy outside of the ring. He's got that bad boy image, like you say, bad boy Joey Janela. Brandon Cutler was a wrestler before AEW, but he did take about 7 years out to form a family, have kids, wife, and then he came back into the ring about 3 years ago, I think I remember rightly, 3 or 2 years ago. So he needs a bit more ring experience under his belt. Nyla Rose redeems herself where she beats Leva Bates, one of the half of the Liberians, which have now gone to like, at first, the Liberians, they were annoying. I think that's why they brought it into being the elite, how fans didn't like the Liberian characters. But starting to warm them, good characters. They are funny. We'll see what else happens with them. I can't see her being women's champion material just yet, but would he keep them going or just have them as a comedy gimmick? Remains to be seen. But
again,
it works at the minute,
isn't it? Trying to build them all up.
Yeah, it works at the minute. I think fans are starting to slowly warm to them, but we'll see how that one goes. Main event for AEW Dark, you had Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes and the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, beating Private Party, Seema and T-Hawk in an 8-man tag team match. Obviously Cody's team was going to win, but Private Party, Seema and T-Hawk came across well in the match. That's basically it for the AEW Dark.
So moving on to NXT's show for the same night as AEW Dynamite. Show kicks off with the returning Tommaso Ciampa, his first match back since he had his neck surgery, and he defeats Garza. They've been putting over recent weeks at Garza and the recently drafted to Raw superstar Humberto Carrillo are cousins. Garza, although he's not being portrayed as a talent enhancement or a jobber, it was pretty obvious that Ciampa was going to win this one. Basically wins it with an elevated hanging DDT. A new finisher for him, which he's naming the Willow's Bell. After the match, Undisputed Era come out because basically Ciampa's come back. He wants his title back because he never lost it, as he calls it, Goldie. They're basically trying to get to the ring to surround him, but he manages to get hold of a steel chair and his trusty crutch that has become synonymous with him since his first injury a couple of years ago. Basically, this just leads to the Undisputed Era backpedaling, because even though it's a 4-on-1 situation, apparently Ciampa having a crutch and a steel chair is enough for him to be like, yep, he's going to beat us up, basically. So instead, Kyle O'Reilly hands a USB stick to the commentary desk, which is later revealed to have footage from backstage of the Undisputed Era surrounding Velveteen Dream. You don't see the instant, but it becomes apparent that Undisputed Era has just beat Velveteen Dream down, obviously putting across that basically Roderick Strong does not want to defend his championship against him next week. And that later then turns into, later on the night, the match between Keith Lee and Dominik Dijakovic gets turned into a number one contendership for his title match. But we'll get onto that in a bit. The next matchup was Bartel and Eichner going up against Lorcan and Danny Burch, the two British bruisers. Basically, Imperium, another faction, although they're on NXT, they were formed on NXT UK, so I'm not too sure what they're doing with them on NXT, whether they just want a bit more talent because now they're 2 hours, or they're just trying to give them a bit more screen time to maybe get people drawn into NXT UK, because I'd imagine the viewing figures aren't exactly as high as the main NXT show.
Talking about the viewing figures of the main show, what do you think of the viewing figures going down each week?
This is it with that one, though. Not only, I know what you're saying, NXTs are going down, but at the same point,
AEW's are going down.
AEW's going down. So at the same point, although AEW's still coming across as being strong, yeah, they can take bragging rights sort of thing, but really for it to be a success, you'd expect more to be like, well, yeah, they're beating NXT and they're taking some of NXT.
Thing is, though, they've only just started the Dynamite show, so you can understand. But with NXT that's been going so long, you should have had a hardcore sort of fan base, basically.
I know. Again, it could be
it shouldn't be going down each week.
But for both shows, there could be a lot of things. I mean, obviously for both on the same week, having full shows on main network TV. So the first week's always going to be one of those, they get a lot of viewers in, and then it'll start dwindling off. It might just be that domino effect at the moment. You get one trickling off from the first episode because it's like, not really my cup of tea, not gonna try, whether I'm not really interested in this so-called wrestling war, I'm not gonna bother watching the other show.
Is this wrestling fans not as interested in it as back in the 90s with the Attitude Era, well, WWE versus WCW?
It could just be the case of, because of the way it's just been, I don't want to say publicised, but as wrestling fans, we've been talking about Wednesday Night Wars, the Wrestling Wars, the New Wars for so long. Maybe it's just a case of now it's finally here. People are tuning in and just going, what was all the fuss about? Not everybody, but some may just be like, again, that's probably why the first week's decent ones. I know obviously they've been trickling down week to week, but I think that's probably a domino effect. The ones that didn't stop watching the first show, the next show afterwards, probably gave up on it after that. As I said previously, it's all going to depend on how it goes between now and the end of the year.
I like that they do have AEW Dark in AEW. It's good because it shows wrestlers who can't get onto the main show onto the dark matches.
Well, it's not just that, because like you say, you had the Rhodes Brothers on it, so they're still trying to give
and
it
that as well, yeah,
a bit of what you call
and
it.
a good thing about this week, what I forgot to mention, Taz doing commentary, guest commentary, which decent commentary on it as well, because he was decent when he used to do TNA Impact, he was decent in WWE, so let's hope he does more commentary in All Elite Wrestling in the future.
Yeah.
That's not guaranteed, but hopefully.
But again, with the Dark show, I can see why they're doing it, basically trying to get all the rest of screen time. But from what they said previous about eventually they're going to start giving the superstars time off, they're not going to expect them to wrestle week in, week out. You'd imagine at some point, unless they decide to pull across some of the other well-known names to the Dark show, eventually that might just become, like you say, just a place where the ones that aren't as well-known or need a bit of work doing get pushed across. So I think at the moment it's just basically because Amiga's wrestled on the Dark
He has, yeah, Joey Janela.
So I can see it just being, get name recognition to that firstly. So obviously they're obviously thinking we've only got one show, so we need to put a second show out. And as I said previously, WWE do a similar thing, but they just try and put it across as a different show. Although AEW are putting the Dark name on it, at least they're actually saying these are the Dark matches before Dynamite, whereas Vince is just putting across main event as just like a couple of matches that they filmed, even though everybody realises now that the tape before Raw, he's just trying to create another show, even though it turns into a basic highlight package show. And
a good thing about Kenny and Joey Janela match on the Dark match, he got that respect from the fans, that they liked it that much that he's actually having a rematch this week on Dynamite. So that'll be interesting to see.
So yeah, but yeah, basically moving on. Next up was a women's match. Io Shirai defeated Kaden Carter. this then leads to Rhea Ripley, another NXT UK star, coming out. Because again, they're working towards the next challenger for the NXT Women's title. Basically, this is the first sort of clashing of heads over who deserves the title shot. Basically, there's another one later on in the show. So yeah, that's basically just have a confrontation in the ring over who's going to get the next title shot. Next up is the number one contenders match for the North American Championship. Keith Lee and Dominik Dijakovic. As I said previously, this was only made number one contendership match after Velveteen Dream was laid out by Undisputed Era. This was also, it was originally slated as a rubber match for them. Basically, they had 3 matches previously, 1 win apiece, and then the other match was a draw, basically. As has been the case with these two, hard hitting plus high flying affair, even though they're heavyweight wrestlers. But basically, the match ends in a no contest. Basically, Roderick Strong, the North American champion, decides he doesn't want to face either one for the title, and decides he's going to come down to the ring and just basically attack both of them. After that, he gets out of the ring, thinks he's being smart and he's got no challenger, but basically straight away Regal just comes out. It's like, yeah, you think you're being smart, do you? Next week you're facing both of them triple threat match. So Strong's basically screwed himself over. So that one's been set up for this week's show, triple threat match for the North American Championship. Then next match up on the card was Matt Riddle versus Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed basically was part of the 8-man tournament they had of Performance Center Stars. The opportunity of getting a title shot of the choosing. Bronson Reed didn't win that one, but he's been brought up to the NXT roster. Basically, Riddle, no surprises, wins the match with the Bro Derek. But yeah, obviously Riddle being kept strong. Again, as I said previously, Vince will probably bring him up to the roster at some point and push him, because again, he falls into that category of stars that Vince sort of loves. He's got a bit of muscle on him. Next up, Tegan Nox defeats Tainara Conte with the Shiniest Wizard. Pretty straightforward match. But then after the match, Shayna Baszler comes out with her horsewomen entourage. Basically, to try and intimidate her. And basically, this again is setting up another challenger for the title. So again, see where this one goes, because as I say, you had Io Shirai and Rhea Ripley fighting over the number one contendership match, or bickering over it on the show. So whether they're going with a contender match, whether it's going to turn into a triple threat fatal 4-way, something like that, only time will tell with that one. Then next up, Killian Dane defeated Boa with the Half Nelson clutch. Again, Boa's another one of these stars that was part of the tournament, and then subsequently brought onto the main roster. After the match, Pete Dunne comes out for his main event match, confronts Killian Dane. Dane, trying to be the big tough man, goes toe to toe with him, and Pete Dunne basically snaps his fingers. So again, that one's obviously being set up for him to have a match somewhere further down the line. And then basically main event for NXT was, as I say, Pete Dunne against Damian Priest. Basically, Priest wins this match after quite a grueling match. Priest hits Dunne with a low blow and then hits him with the Reckoning to get the pinfall there.
Good main event match.
Not too bad. Priest is another one of those marquee signings. Obviously, Dunne's being brought up from the UK. I think he's done all he can on NXT UK. I mean, what more can you do with him after he held the UK title for, what was it, over 600 days?
Something like that.
Basically, again, a lot of that came down to the fact that apart from NXT shows, he didn't really have a platform to defend it on. So, yeah, it was a lengthy reign, but once they got the UK brand going, it was only a matter of time before he dropped it. But yeah, it looks like he's pretty much being moved on to go on to at least NXT, maybe get shoved into the North American title scene, or just float around the main event scene. And Priest, again, he's another one that's going to be groomed to go onto the main roster, where Vince will probably ruin him anyway. So yeah, we'll wait and see what happens with that one. But yeah, that's basically NXT for that week.
Now let's talk about Impact Wrestling before Bound for Glory pay-per-view. First match, Unbreakable Michael Elgin versus Fowler Bar, with TJP as his manager at ringside. Fowler Bar climbs to the top rope, but Elgin cuts him off and connects with the Elgin bomb for the freak out. And after the match, Elgin looks at the camera and sends a message to his opponent at Bound for Glory, Marufuji. Elgin wraps a steel chair around the neck of TJP and sends him into the steel post. Now, Michael Elgin is a good wrestler. He's massively built, basically. He's one of them. I think they're building him slowly. Another good wrestler for Impact. Then X-Division champion Jake Crist versus Chris Bay. Jake hits a supercutter off the top to win. So he goes into Bound for Glory still as a champion at this moment in time. Backstage you have Ace. I do like Ace Austin. His character's funny and it works. He had him inviting Alicia to the party with him, as he puts it, that he'll win the X-Division title at Bound for Glory. So he was that confident he was going to win the X-Division title. Everyone wanted to be involved in the party. He's been getting into it for weeks and months. Eddie Edwards hasn't been happy with it. She's drawing more to Ace Austin rather than Eddie Edwards, her husband. So we'll soon see how that's going to turn out, because they're going to have a match sooner rather than later. Tag team champion Josh Alexander with Ethan Page versus Rick Swann with William Mack at his side versus Rhino with RVD in his corner. Swann capitalises off the distraction with a 450 splash to beat Alexander in the match. So they had that match because they're all in a tag team match for the tag team titles at Bound for Glory. Because you've got, which we'll get to later, which will be a good match basically, because you've got Alexander and Ethan Page who are the tag team champions. They'll be facing Rick Swann and Willie Mack, and then you have Rhino and RVD, ex-ECW partners basically, with a lot of history going back. Would you agree? Rhino and RVD have a lot of ECW history there, so.
Wow. RVD obviously original, Rhino original.
Yeah, the originals.
But again, as long as they're not calling them ECW originals, like other promotions did in the past, I think that shit sold. ECW's had its day now, obviously. Yeah,
they still get a chance.
Yeah, but again, I think they just need to be judged on their own merits now, not the fact of what company they used to wrestle in, sort of thing.
But they're not forcing the crowd to say it. But
yeah, no, yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm just basically saying some would be like, oh, the old ECW stars and all this.
It used to get a lot of rap Impact on its last legs. It nearly went bust. It's resurrecting now when being on Access TV. I think it's the 29th of October. It airs on Access TV for the first time. It's got, like I said before, the Knockouts division, best in the business. They have got the talent on there. Good tag teams, good wrestlers.
They have to do something, because obviously, like you say, there was a point where it looked like they were on the last legs. So I think they've just had to.
Yeah, they don't go to big arenas, but it works. At the moment, it works. Hopefully, they'll start getting bigger again.
They've
working
had
themselves
to
up.
cut down to get the fan base back again.
Yeah. The next bit, you had Sami Callihan. There was a real message before his World Championship match against Brian Cage at Bound for Glory. He was saying, like, he didn't want to be this way. You know, his actions in the past few impacts, you know, he didn't want it to be like that, but the fans, everyone created the Sami Callihan now, which was his message, basically. I like Sami Callihan, I like OVE, Ohio versus Everything. They're a good group. I do think he deserves to have the title on him, but hopefully that comes sooner rather than later, because he's worked his arse off to get to where he is, with a lot of setbacks, and he has got the in-ring talent. Hopefully he'll eventually win the title. Rohit Raju versus Sabu, which Rohit Raju won the match. Then you had the X Division title ladder match qualifier. The match ended in a double count out, so neither of them actually end the match Bound for Glory. So, I mean, Rohit Raju didn't win the match, it was a double count out for both of them. Getting confused. Talk too much, don't we?
So basically just a way
Rohit Raju and Sabu. That was a double count out, basically. Yeah, it was double count out. So, yeah, it was a pointless match, in my opinion. Then you had a backstage interview with Tessa Blanchard before she challenges for the X Division title. Bound for Glory again. Good wrestler. Bit like China back in the day. I think they're working her towards that, but she's got, in my opinion, she's a better wrestler than China was. Hopefully she gets the world title eventually. I know she's going for the X Division, but hopefully she wins the world title eventually. Because it'll be fitting if Sami Callihan does win the title. It will be Tessa Blanchard versus Sami Callihan for the world title, airing up for a pay-per-view eventually, because their feud's still ongoing.
That's most likely what's going to happen. The wrestling always has
Not
that way.
yet.
Has that way of just slotting in.
Yeah.
So yeah, that probably is the way that one's going.
Then the last match, over the top rope battle royal. Winner gets a Call Your Shot gauntlet, entry number 20, and the runner-up, they have to enter at number 1. Shearer won the match. That means Eddie Edwards, who came in second place, enters at number 1 at Bound for Glory in that match. All in all, good Impact again. I don't think, in my opinion, they're not doing anything wrong at the minute. Like I said, used to get a lot of bad press, not very professional, but they had to do cutbacks, like we said before. They were losing a lot of money. They were trying to be the old WCW back in the day, I think.
Well, yeah, the old tried and tested WCW mould of bringing in former WWE main eventers and pushing them to the hill. And even, didn't they have a sort of NWO style group as well at some point?
Yeah, they did, yeah.
So yeah, but again, I think with Impact at the moment, it's just a case of taking baby steps in it to try and build a
It is. I've enjoyed it. It is good Impact, I've got to say.
And with
it's worth a watch.
With what's happening with the other two companies, it's a case of sneak under the radar sort of thing. Yeah. But yeah, move on to SmackDown next.
I think may as well talk about Bound for Glory, their pay-per-view, and then we'll talk about SmackDown if you want to. Yeah, let's talk about Bound for Glory. This is the 15th anniversary event for Bound for Glory for Impact Wrestling. It was a good pay-per-view. It had everything basically.
Yeah, as you say, Bound for Glory, just one of those pay-per-views that's been around for eons, basically, like we say, 15th anniversary of it.
Yeah, yep. So you had, well, basically you had Moose beating Ken Shamrock in one of the matches. Ken Shamrock coming back to fight after the rivalry with Moose in recent weeks and months. You know, Moose wanted to beat Ken Shamrock, even turned up at his gym, beating his kids who were training there, you know, to prove a point to Ken Shamrock. Ken Shamrock still got it at 50. Well, 50, I don't know how old he actually is, but...
Yeah, he's got to be there or thereabouts, because obviously competing in WWE back in the 90s. And he's had his UFC career before that, so yeah. Say about, if not 50s, late 40s.
He had another match, Michael Elgin beating Marufuji in a dream match, which I knew Michael Elgin was going to win, but all in all, good bats for both of them, basically. Marufuji did well in the match, just couldn't beat Elgin, basically. Elgin was too big for him. And again, another match, women's title match, well, women's knockout title match. Taya Valkyrie retains the women's title by beating Tanila Dashwood to extend her reign to over 288 days. Longest reigning knockouts champion. Watching the match, she's got the talent, she deserves the title, but Tanila Dashwood, good wrestler he brought in recently from, I think it was independent scene. I think she has been in WWE as Emma, I think, in WWE.
They did have an Emma competing, so
yeah. I think it was Tanila Dashwood.
If it's the one I'm thinking of, it would be the one that they fired at one point for shoplifting and then reinstated her only a couple of hours later, sort of thing. She'll
eventually win the Knockouts Championship. Next, Eddie Edwards wins the Call Your Shot Gauntlet match at entering as number 1, so he gets a choice to which champion he wants to go after, title he wants to go after. I think it's basically like Money in the Bank. You know, you can choose
you're basically the champ. Well, well, Money in Bank obviously it's for a world title, but yeah, I understand what you're saying. You get a title shot down the line.
And the way this match went, Ace Austin winning the X Division title, I can see it being Eddie Edwards challenging Ace Austin for the title, which will reignite that feud. So that should be interesting to see. That one. You had Rhino being turned on by Rob Van Dam. Rob Van Dam turned on him in the tag team match, where you had the North retaining the tag team champions, also beating Willie Mack and Rick Swan. Rhino getting beat by RVD. I think that stems from back in the day ECW. I think there's still amnesty, a rivalry there.
And an RVD heel turn by the sound.
Yeah, it still is RVD heel turn.
Well, yeah, because I don't think he had a heel turn in WWE. I'm assuming is it his first one, or is his first one since ECW or something?
Maybe his first one.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
No, although
he's brought in as member of the Alliance, even that, obviously that was Vince trying to, you got to boo them, even though it was a case of not many of them did get booed. And I
think with this they'll go back to ECW days with this storyline, rivalry, basically. I think that's what RBD will end up coming out and saying, it's back in the day, ECW, you know, I'd never liked you, I just wanted to turn on you, pretend we're friends. I think they'll work it that sense, which will obviously have a match, but whether it'll be an ECW style hardcore match, we can always hope.
But most likely it'll just be your standard wrestling match. Well, to be fair, if it was Vince booking it, it'd be like, it's a blood feud, you just have a standard wrestling match.
Yeah. Then you had the main event match. Brian Cage defending his title against Sami Callihan. Sami Callihan bleeding after 5 minutes in the match. Cage, which hurts his back in the match as well. Brian Cage wins the match. It's a shame. I thought Sami Callihan may have won the match because Brian Cage previously been off injured anyway, while still having the Impact title. Even though Callihan's still been wrestling shown his dominance on Impact. He still couldn't win the title. I don't know where they're going to go with him on that one. I hope he gets a rematch somewhere down the line and beats Brian Cage for the title.
Is it possible he could turn it into a triple threat match and include Blanchard in it?
Yeah, he could do. That might be a decent one.
Try.
But I did want Sami Callihan to win the title. He deserved to win the title. I don't get why they had Brian Cage winning the match. Maybe there's a reasoning by it, which we'll find out on Impact. But in my opinion, I wanted Sami Callihan to win the match. He deserved it. But obviously, there's logic behind why they wanted Brian Cage to win the match. But
yeah, a lot of ways you guys I say potential triple threat, or they could do the other tried and tested method of, oh, don't get the title this time, but next match it will be him getting his hand raised, and maybe leading to a rubber match to determine the ultimate champion, or however way wrestling companies try to promote title matches.
And apparently, rumour has it, Brian Cage wasn't happy because apparently the match was cut short due to timing. Brian Cage wasn't happy that it ended so short. I'm not 100% sure on all the details on that. That's just what I've read.
In fairness, it seems to be a common trait with they always seem to get it right with TV shows, but I presume with the TV shows they can cut segments out here and there, but it always seems to be the way the pay-per-views, you hear of it, that sometimes they have to cut matches, either cut matches short, sometimes they do take matches off the card as well. But again, I think that's only probably happened with Vince with Mania, when pre-network days, before they could control how long or short their pay-per-views were. But yeah, WCW prime example.
They went over as well.
Was it the DDP title match that they had to re-show on Nitro the following night because they overrun it so much?
Well, they've overrun. I think they overrun a Nitro as well. I think he kept the camera on by mistake, and he saw it backstage.
So
on one of the Nitros.
It's not a new thing of matches overrunning and then affecting other ones, but I could see where he's coming from if he's been told the match is being cut short because other matches have gone too long.
Blanchard, I think Blanchard stole the night. The fans, I think the fans are her favourite basically. She got the most cheers out of the whole show. So,
Well, yeah, from what you've been saying, it does sound like she's been put across as a big star at the moment.
Oh, she's a big star, but without a championship at the moment. But I think they're building this, because they've had a rivalry with OVE, she had a rivalry with them. I think hopefully she'll get a title shot, but maybe she'll have more of a feud with OVE. Maybe that's what they're working towards, and then giving her another title shot. I don't know. We'll have to see how that one works out, but
it all depends.
I was surprised she lost the match. I thought she was going to be the X Division champion, but I liked Ace Austin. I'm glad he won it, but I thought she may have done it, but just came up short.
Well, when it comes to that, I mean, you always have a few common traits with that one. It's like the old saying that everyone can be a champion, or then the other one they go to that sometimes some superstars don't need a title to make the superstar sort of thing.
Yeah, at the minute she didn't need the title. She was built up anyway, because she was the feud of OVE. She was built up, being this badass woman. A bit like I said before, like a China aspect of it, but with more of a wrestling skill.
Yeah, I think that'll probably just be one to watch and see where they actually go with that one.
Whether she still reignites the feud with Sami Callihan, it remains to be seen. We'll have to see how that one pans out. Because how Sami Callihan's going to feel now he got beat by Brian Cage. How's he going to feel on Impact? Hopefully we'll wait and see.
If they were going to continue it, then him as champion. Unless, as I say, maybe slot her into the programme and make it a triple threat or something. Or maybe have her as the next challenger to then make it a triple threat further down the line. With Callihan coming back into the equation.
Or at the next pay-per-view. I think it's called Into the Fire, but don't quote me on that one. Maybe it could be a triple threat match for the world title in that one. We'll have to wait and see. Do you want to talk about SmackDown now?
Yep.
But we're rabbiting on, aren't we? Let's go to We'll talk about SmackDown.
Yeah. We'll try and wrap this up shortly. We have been going on for a while, but yeah. SmackDown show kicks off in the Continental Championship match. Shinsuke Nakamura defending his title against Roman Reigns. Reigns getting a title shot, that's a new thing. But yeah.
Yeah, it's Vince's golden child.
Yeah, but basically apparently this stemmed from Twitter, as a lot of Vince's storylines seem to do nowadays. But yeah, basically Reigns does win the match, but he only wins it by disqualification after Baron Corbin interferes and hits him with his scepter as part of his regalia as being the king of the ring.
Do you rate Baron Corbin?
At the moment, it's 50-50 with Corbin, because obviously people were making too much of a fuss of he retired Kurt Angle at WrestleMania without him actually realising it wasn't. If he beats Angle, he retires. Angle actually said it's my last match. So I think people have got too much on his back there, going, "Oh, you retired Angle." No, he just had Angle's last match. But yeah.
Wouldn't have wanted him to be his last match.
Nah, but from storyline point of view, for a change, Vince actually wrapped up a storyline, even though, could have had anyone. But again, with other names that are put in there, let's take Cena, for instance. What would you rather have, Cena or Corbin?
Good point.
Tough choice. But again, I think Angle even came out, didn't he? And was like, he didn't really want it, or afterwards he was he was sort of against it. From a storyline point of view, it wrapped up the story that they were having, but it's Kurt Angle really giving him more marquee final match. I mean, Shelton Benjamin. I mean, Team Angle days.
Yeah, that would have been a good one as well.
Or maybe Chad Gable, but we'll get on to him a little in a minute with what's going on. But yeah. Corbin, I think with Corbin though, obviously heel character. I think they're working a bit better now. I think they're working him into that point where he's gonna be a heel, the proper sort of heel, the heel that you actually do hate for the fact of him being a heel, not the way they were portraying him previously. But yeah, apparently again, him interfering in the match was again part of a separate Twitter thing that was happening with him and Reigns. It's like, this whole match revolving around Twitter, how original. But basically this just leads to Daniel Bryan coming out to help Roman Reigns. This is a strange partnership that's emerged recently, considering where we were a couple of months ago. Everybody thinking that Daniel Bryan was the person who was behind trying to hurt Roman Reigns with all these backstage assaults. Or maybe this is a false sense of security. Maybe the team them together where it does come out that he was the mastermind behind it all, and he just wanted to give Eric Rowan some spotlight or something. But at the moment, basically, they're doing it as Reigns and Bryan as being allies, but not reluctant allies, as has been the case going through the years. Basically, this match was only put in place so he could just basically hotfoot a tag team match into play for later on the night. Nakamura and Corbin facing Bryan and Roman Reigns. Next up, talking to Chad Gable, he defeated Curtis Axel with the ankle lock. After the match, he gets interviewed leading up to this, during his brief program with Baron Corbin and the weeks leading up to it. He's been getting Corbin and a few other wrestlers mocking him, saying about his height, basically calling him short and all this. The past couple of weeks, Baron Corbin, because he's now king, he's like, I now declare you Shorty Gable. Leading up to this, we'd heard months ago that WWE had trademarked the name Shorty G, and basically this is full circle. Basically Chad Gable being interviewed, he's just like, he's like, yeah, basically he's taken the Shorty Gable on board. He's just like, let's just shorten it up, and I'm now Shorty G. So basically, from him being mocked for his height, he's just decided to, in storyline mode anyway, just christen himself Shorty G basically. Whether this leads to any sort of push for Gable will remain to be seen. He is a gifted athlete. I mean, he has competed in the Olympics wrestling, and people have likened him to Kurt Angle. Whether he gets a push further down the line remains to be seen. If Vince is so insistent on going with this Shorty Gable / Shorty G thing, maybe not. It looks like he's just going to be used as a comic act probably. But yeah.
Same trait in WWE where you got the talent, you just don't get work properly.
Exactly. But that's Vince for you. You can't see talent even when it's underneath his nose.
No, he can't.
He's got...
He doesn't know his own product.
Basically, he's got some of the best wrestlers on the planet. Or some of the best wrestlers on the planet. And he doesn't push half of them. And the other half just don't...
Unless he's got muscle.
Exactly. But again, like we said previously, how many muscly guys have the wrestling ability as well?
Not many.
So yeah, it's, as they've called it in the past, it's a land of giants. So yeah, as I say, we'll just have to see on that one. Next up was an 8-man tag team match. New Day, Big E and Xavier Woods teaming with Heavy Machinery, going up against and defeating the SmackDown Tag Champions, The Revival, and Rude and Ziggler. This match ends with Big E and Xavier Woods hitting the midnight hour on Scott Dawson. Again, don't know what Vince has with having his champions getting pinned all the time. It appears you become a champion and then you just lose time after time. Well, apart from... That's the only thing you can say about Kofi Kingston's title reign. He did get basically the better pushes of a champion. Think he went 21-0 before he finally lost the match.
Do you reckon he deserved the championship though?
There is... I mean, I can see where they're coming from. The fact he's been in the company for so long. As I said in previous episodes, I think really the defining moment of his title victory was Mania. I think after that it was just a case of, it just felt like a damn title reign. You're just waiting for it to end. Obviously, not with who we've ended up with champion, because again...
It was a bit... In my opinion, I didn't like the way he got destroyed by Brock Lesnar to lose the title.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
But then the way they're just following it up is the fact of Kofi's going around as if he wasn't even champion. He got destroyed in 9 seconds for the title, and basically by the next show he's all smiling, happy, and basically in a backstage segment with Heavy Machinery and the New Day before the match, Heavy Machinery are talking about cheering Kofi up after he lost the title, and he spurts out rubbish like, "Oh, I'm fine as long as I've got the power of positivity." So it's like, yeah, really, Vince, you're trying to convince us. You try and tell us that being a W champion is the most prestigious thing to be in the company, yet your champion who lost the title in 9 seconds after you're giving him quite a good run with it is basically like, oh, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I was champion, but yeah, just sort of batting it off. Doesn't even sound like he wants a rematch. But again, after being destroyed by Brock Lesnar, would you really want a rematch against? Maybe wait until somebody else is champion and be like, I didn't get my rematch. But yeah, again, they could be portraying it as a smart move. Why go after the man that's destroyed you for the title? Wait until a more suitable opponent comes up. But yeah, that's basically that one. Next up was Miss TV. Guests on this one were Bayley and Sasha Banks. Miz trying to find out what's gone on with Bayley's sudden change in character, even though basically we all know as fans why she's turned, because Sasha's back. But yeah, basically Miz starts asking her questions. He's not saying anything. It seems to be Banks doing most of the talking, which leads to Miz just quirping in, "A champion who doesn't speak. Who are you, Brock Lesnar?" and then refers to Sasha Banks as Paul Heyman. So was this just Miz just off the cuff, or are we getting the Miz in a flipping feud with Lesnar somewhere down the line once he's faced Cain Velasquez?
It could be.
But to be fair, let's face Lesnar versus Miz on paper, that's just going to be
a whitewash.
Exactly. In fairness to the Miz, I hope that's not what they're doing. It's just basically Miz being the Miz and just basically trying to add a bit more depth to that. But yeah, Bayley just basically comes out, and when she eventually says she destroyed her Bayley buddies because after she lost the title to Charlotte at Hell in a Cell, no one came to console or anything, and it just basically convinced her that basically people were all take, and once basically trying to say she wasn't the champion anymore, so no one cared, even though she's still aligned with Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks apparently cares about her, but again, I think they've basically done that because of Vince being Vince. He was trying to have Bayley align her with Sasha, but we won't turn her. But how's that supposed to work when Sasha Banks has come back and basically turned heel, but then have Bayley align with her, but still be a babyface? So yeah, towards the end of this segment, she does bring a bit of inner Vince out, brings back one of his more catchier sayings from back in the McMahon Helmsley era. She basically quirps. She starts going on about the fans, and then she finishes off by going, "Life sucks, and then you die."
One of his classic sayings.
One that people don't remember. For us, we remember. It's one that we fondly remember. It's like, oh yeah, that's quite a catchy one by Vince. But yeah, but obviously I expect that one to just be a throwaway line. Maybe Vince just wanted to throw it in just because he's used it previously. Or knowing Vince, he's probably forgot he ever used it and just thought, oh, it's a nice little line to use.
One I like from Vince.
But yeah, this transpires into a number one contendership match. It'd be announced earlier on the show, but this was basically the match following on. 6-pack challenge. Nikki Cross, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, who, surprise, surprise, Vince is very high on still. So expect her to get a title shot down the line, or maybe become SmackDown Women's Champion further down the line. Also, Carmella and Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, who are still in a tag team together. This one ends with Nikki Cross defeating Mandy Rose. So, yeah, Nikki Cross, she's not been booked too bad since coming onto the main roster. Whether this means them, even though her and Alexa Bliss, even though they got brought across to SmackDown, even though they were drafted to Raw originally, they put it across as a blockbuster trade. So maybe Fox changed their minds and wanted them both on. Whether they're going to split them up or whether it's just going to be Nikki Cross going for the title and they're still going to be tag teaming further down the line. But to be fair, with Bayley only just regaining the title after losing it for a short period of time, I can't really see Bayley losing the championship anyway, because then we're just getting back into territory of hot potato with the title. Yeah. Because as I said previously, I think the only reason she lost it was just so they could have this change in character for her. Then next up we have Braun Strowman facing off against a debuting Drew Gulak coming up from the 205 roster. Before the match, Gulak basically gets on the microphone and doesn't taunt Strowman, basically says if he keeps going the way he is with the way he's dealing with Tyson Fury, Fury's going to destroy him at Crown Jewel. And then he brings back one of his old gimmicks from 205, or tries to bring it back. He's like, but I've produced a special PowerPoint presentation for you. Basically, never gets into any of the slides. Strowman just basically attacks him from the start, basically. Hits him with a pretty powerful power slam and basically just gets the victory. So obviously this is just a match for Strowman to have to make him look strong and powerful while just having a main roster star just get destroyed, basically. Doesn't do anything for Drew Gulak. And then the main event, as I say, Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan defeating Nakamura and Baron Corbin. Reigns spears Nakamura through the barricade on the outside, spears Corbin through the barricade on the outside. Apologies for that. And the match ends with Bryan hitting Nakamura with the running knee to get the pinfall. So we've had Reigns versus Nakamura for the title. Is Daniel Bryan going to get a title shot? Remains to be seen. Or are Reigns and Bryan going to get the more lucrative SmackDown Tag Team title shot?
Won't be surprised.
As I say, again, we seem to be going back to that very dangerous position of two superstars who were feuding in a tag. Although, as I say, with this one, this tag team seems to be built more on. It's more going into mutual respect now. Obviously coming around because of Rowan and Harper destroying both of them during the whole whodunit angle with Roman Reigns. So, in fairness, I prefer either for them to basically go as single stars, or if they're going to tag, just have them sporadically tagging. But I think really just keep them away from the title picture, because I think we've had too many tag team champions that have just been of the ilk of two random stars being put together, or two main event stars, because Vince views the tag teams as needing a push. But yeah, that's basically SmackDown for the week.
Right, let's move on to NWA Power. NWA recently debuted on YouTube, I think about 3 weeks ago. The title, like we said before, has been defended on and off by Nick Aldis, which he basically won the title back off Cody Rhodes after he lost it all into Cody. Eddie Kingston calls out the Dawsons following their beatdown of him and Homicide the previous week. Marty Bell beats Crystal Rose with a double underhook facebuster in the match. The Dawsons actually refuse to fight Eddie Kingston and Homicide in a tag match, but will fight anyone else in the event. So, don't know why they want to refuse to fight them. Maybe they're scared. Who knows? You had Caleb Conley beats Dan Parker with a Revolution moonsault. Joe Garley expects Tim Storm to come out to be interviewed, but Aaron Stevens comes out instead and plugs his Tropical Pirate film. You do eventually see Tim Storm. He comes out and he actually speaks positively about Nick Aldis, who he lost a match to for the NWA World title, or £10 of gold. You have Eli Drake actually comes out and asks him to be his tag partner to face the Dawsons in the main event. He was reluctant at first, but Tim Storm actually agrees. And then obviously the main event is Eli Drake and Tim Storm versus the Dawsons, which obviously the Dawsons win. But after the match, the Dawsons attack Tim Storm and Eli Drake, which brings out Homicide and Eddie Kingston come out and to help him out basically. And then in the end, you have Nick Aldis coming out to see if Tim Storm's actually alright in the centre of the ring after he's been beat down. Partly through the show, Joe Garley actually interviews Nick Aldis and saying why his missus doesn't speak. He's not allowed to mention it, but he gets annoyed again. That happens. That's it. Basically, another good NWA Power show. I'm glad it's back. Have you watched any of it yourself?
I've not seen any of it, but I have heard and seen pictures of the fact that they're using the old style.
Yeah, it's the old set, basically.
Set,
it's the old set like from the 80s.
Which is a nice little touch of having the
small arena. Old. I think they're trying to build it up again to be a powerhouse. But they're just doing YouTube at the minute. It's not gone to TV. It won't go to TV just yet. I think they're doing it slowly.
Yeah, but it is nice to have NWA back. 'Cause obviously, the main staple. It is one of the longer running wrestling companies. It should never have basically gone off air, basically, or gone under, whatever it was that happened with it. So yeah, it's nice to see it back, even if it is only on YouTube. But yeah, like you say, it just needs time to work, basically.
An hour is decent at the minute. It compacts it in 10-minute matches. The hour works. Hopefully, eventually they might extend it, but that's not going to be for a while. I think they'll just stick to what they're doing at the minute.
Yeah, don't rush it too much.
That's what I mean. Don't rush it. They've got the good talent on there. The hour works basically.
Yeah.
I think that's it about NWA Power. Now let's talk about what everyone wants to talk about as well is news and rumours in the wrestling world. The rumour recently spouting out on the internet is Randy Orton's. Well, he did say AEW was cool after the Double or Nothing pay-per-view. There's talk he wanted to leave to go to All Elite Wrestling when his contract expires in WWE. That's not been confirmed. That's
it's
rumour.
It's a 50-50 with that one, really, because Orton's not exactly been known for being too subtle. So, and it has been said today or yesterday that the deal he signed is until 2020, so his contract soon up for expiry, basically.
And he's pushing towards the end of his career, basically, the end of his wrestling, would you say?
Well, yeah, he is in his late 30s now.
Yeah.
So pushing 40. Something like, yeah, he's late 30s, early 40s sort of
I won't say
thing.
it's the end of his career, because Jericho's still going, but I think he's thinking now is he wants to try something new. The rumour is he wants to try something new and exciting.
But then again, he's one of Vince's favourites.
He won't be if he leaves.
Well, yeah.
It'll happen to what happened to Jericho.
But at the same point with Orton's a funniosity anyway at the best of times. He's been known when he's a heel, he's more at ease, he starts enjoying it, but then eventually he starts getting bored. He turns babyface, his babyface runs are just bland and stale because he doesn't suit baby. Well, let's face it, when he first turned in babyface, that was a complete disaster. He always works as a heel, but eventually he gets to a point with his heel runs where he just loses interest in it, basically. So, yeah, if he was to go, he'd be a coup for them, but again, it all depends how much passion he has for it.
I wonder if he'd work in the inner circle with Jericho.
I don't know whether have they ever been on the same side of the face-heel divide sort of thing.
I'm just wondering if it'd work. I don't know if they have, but I wonder if it'd work.
I would imagine with Jericho being the way he is as a heel persona, he'd probably feel his nose is being pushed out slightly by another.
Yeah, maybe.
But as we said, that's just a rumour at the moment.
Other news, I don't know if you caught the match, but about at the weekend, Kenny Omega beat Phoenix for the AAA Mega Championship in Mexico, which was, I watched the match on YouTube, good match, end to end. It just worked, high flying, as Kenny Omega does. So now he's saying he's going to take the Mega Championship to Dynamite, AEW, because I think they've got a deal with AAA in Mexico. They've got some sort of relationship. That's why you see so many AEW wrestlers going to Mexico, AAA, and fighting. So you'll see some wrestlers from AAA going across to All Elite Wrestling, Dynamite, probably, and fighting, or one of pay-per-views, whatever, but you will see it that way.
Yeah. Although we didn't mention it last week, we did skip over it. But from the SmackDown side of it, no surprise, Eric Bischoff has been relieved of his duties on SmackDown as the executive director.
Would you say that's a good thing or a bad thing? Because Vince apparently signed him to be a director on SmackDown.
Yeah, from the rumours of what I heard, at the same point, Heyman was assigned to the same position on Raw, but unlike Heyman actually getting to run the show sort of thing, even though it still had to go through Vince, because Vince has the final say and everything, I think the rumour was Bischoff has brought more in for the sort of Fox side of it, the sort of the production side of it, for more go between them and Fox sort of thing. So it does seem a bit suspect.
Does Vince actually like Bischoff?
Well, he's brought him in a couple of times. It's not like he's chewing away. I mean, I think the only time he was really away from the company was when he had his stint with TNA. I think even though he's not been a part of the product for years, he's not really quit the company sort of thing. He's gone off to do his other projects, hasn't he?
But he can't like him that much if he takes that away from him being SmackDown director.
But another rumour with that one is Bischoff doesn't sound like he really thought he was keeping the position for that long anyway, because apparently he didn't move homes either. He kept his house. So, as I say, with it sort of being more the fact of for the TV thing, it's in hindsight now, it looks more like was he brought in more to get the Fox deal up and running now that SmackDown's on Fox, we don't need you anymore.
Or did he know the way Vince works is you sign for Vince and eventually he gets rid of you? Maybe that's why he wasn't 100% sure about not selling his house. Maybe he thought back of his mind is, once I set it up, Vince will end up getting rid of me, so I won't sell my house. I'll get it up, earn money from Vince, and then thinking, just in case, I won't sell my house just yet.
Yeah, but like you said, the WCW side of it, it's like it was always a risky thing bringing Bischoff in to be a creative force on a show after the way he did when he was running Ted Turner's WCW. So it's a 50-50 really whether Vince had plans to actually keep him on or whether it was just a case of a couple of weeks for the Fox one. But yeah, replacement Bruce Pritchard. So I don't expect much change on SmackDown because
isn't he a yes man?
Bruce Pritchard is notoriously a yes man through his podcasts. He always sort with his co-host, it always seems to break down into an argument because he always seems to favour the Vince side of arguments and Triple H's side of arguments. So he does seem to be a company yes man. Maybe he might start making changes, but I don't know whether he's been brought in a similar position to Heyman from what Heyman does on Raw, or whether he's just taking over from what Bischoff was doing. But only time will tell with that one, because again, both shows need work. Heyman has shown improvement with Raw over weeks, but as I say, it has dipped slightly. So both shows need to make improvements, especially considering the way SmackDown's ratings are at the moment, because apparently they're not at the standard. I think they're only pulling in 1 mil, 1.5 mil.
Yeah.
And I think Fox wanted more, 3 to 3.5 mil.
What's going to happen if they don't get that, Fox? Would he pull out of the deal?
Apparently, there's no problems with Fox. They're saying, but again, whether that's an official statement or whether that's AWE statements, but yeah, you'd imagine something's got to change, especially with the size of the deal that's been signed. You'd expect if things don't improve, Fox may, if they don't pull out, then they might just go the other way and just be like, well, we'll do this deal with you, and as soon as it runs out, you basically can go back to what you're doing, basically.
Now let's move on to other wrestlers who might leave WWE for AEW. The Revival tag team have been rumoured for a while. For quite a while. But again, falling back into the Orton one, that's just such a coincidence, considering the fact that during Orton's title pursuit with Kingston, he was teamed with the Revival. So it's like, Revival want to go. Orton's been teaming with them. So does that come back to the Orton one being like, is Orton trolling the fans with the fact of all going to AEW because the Revival are going to AEW and they've been storyline partner sort of thing? Apparently you've had rumour, has it, that Rusev maybe wants out as well.
Well, who can blame him with the way he's been treated, and the
you can't blame him for that.
The storyline, which we'll get on to when we conclude the show, because we've still got one more show to review in this one. but we're doing that last because we want to get the news and rumours in firstly. But yeah, we can go on forever with potential superstars that want to leave for AEW. There's been so many, like you say, Revival, Orton, Rusev. If Nakamura doesn't get used properly. There's been rumours that he wants to leave, but again, if he's going to leave, he's probably going to go back to Japan and these sort of things.
you'd think so.
But yeah, at the moment, I don't think there's really been as many coming out saying they want to leave.
Can they? I think Vince has put a stop to anyone saying anything, really.
Yeah, but there's not really, like, not many doing, like Autumn was doing this previous week, which again may lead to the fact that Autumn may be trolling if Vince doesn't want him saying anything. He's coming out on social media. What is he doing that because it's like Vince won't do anything to him because he's one of his top stars. He don't want to alienate him.
One thing he needs to stop is Seth Rollins, his Twitter account. The things he's coming out with, is, like I said before, it's just unreal. Like, he balls WWE up so much, we're the best in the world. He's even telling Kenny Omega, when you're fed up with AEW, come and join WWE, as we're got the best talent, best wrestlers in the world.
But again, Seth Rollins is, again, a company man.
But what you forget is, he was in WWE, in NXT, before it was NXT, developmental, and he tried it out and didn't like it. Because he was working, I think, under Bilderman at the time, I think. He didn't think he was going to go anywhere. He left, and that's when he went to Japan. So, he's tried and tested. So, and he's in EVP in AEW. So, why would you want to leave a start-up promotion, being an executive vice president?
It's just Rollins being Rollins. He just seems to like having Twitter feuds or saying stupid things on social media.
To be honest, in my opinion, he hasn't got a clue what he's talking about.
But again...
How much is he getting paid
to
say all that?
Well, this, I mean, he is obviously one of Vince's chosen ones at the moment, being the champion.
He's not coming across well, basically.
Yeah, other news on Rollins. He was originally team captain for Hogan's team against Ric Flair's team for Crown Jewel. Before that was announced that he was going to be facing The Fiend again for the title, another title rematch. Subsequently now, because of that, WWE have realised the mistake and he's no longer on the team. It's basically just a title match. And apparently this one, it's a Falls Count Anywhere match, and the match cannot be stopped for any reason. So
he can't undo his mistake. So I mean, that was the problem. He built a Fiend up to have a match like that at Hell in a Cell, a DQ. So you can't undo what's happened.
But as people say, the match can't be stopped for any reason. Isn't that the general guise what Hell in a Cell match should be?
Exactly.
But again, so basically Crown Jewel, next Thursday, 31st of August, is going to be the official funeral of The Fiend, because he won't win the title. And basically, they've dug themselves into a hole now where he's basically going to get beaten definitively. So yeah, we'll just finish off with...
Yeah, we've been rabbiting it on now, but we'll finish off with this next show.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up with Raw from this week. Because, like we say, we've been going on for...
Hopefully, if you're still awake.
Yeah, if you're still awake and still with us. So basically, I'll try and rattle through this as quickly as possible, because I'm sure you all want to basically just go and do something else.
Yeah, exactly. Go on away, us two rattle on for nearly 2 hours.
But yeah, basically, Raw kicks off with Ric Flair introducing the final member of his team for the Saudi show. It's returning Drew McIntyre. Basically facing Ricochet. As I said previously, the rumour is they're trying to push McIntyre again. So with this match, just basically match ends with Ricochet going shoulder first into the ring post and McIntyre hitting the Claymore. Basically dominant performance just to get McIntyre over. And during the match, there's a garbled ringside interview with Ric Flair, which basically made no sense, and I'm not going to really mention too much about it because I can't even remember what was said because it was that garbled. Next up, Aleister Black was going up against a local talent. Basically pretty straightforward match for your usual superstar against a local enhancement talent. Hits the Black Mass, gets the victory, so it looks like they're giving Aleister Black a push as well, which he needs to, because since he's come onto the main roster, they haven't known what to do with him. Then we get into a segment with Rusev, Lana and Bobby Lashley. I know what you're thinking. Yep, I'm as sick of it as you are.
I actually didn't like it. I don't think it's right. Whether he got the go-ahead to do it is another thing, but it still shouldn't be done in wrestling.
But basically, he ends up at a restaurant. This stems from an earlier King's Court segment, Rusev with Jerry the King Lawler, and Lashley and Lana at a restaurant. Lana saying, "Oh, do you recognise this restaurant? You should do. This is the one I've always wanted to come to, but you always stop me." And basically the whole lovey-dovey thing with this. As I say, Rusev ends up at the restaurant, turns into a brawl, and he basically is getting held back by, I don't know whether it was local enforcement or security at the restaurant. But yeah, they just need to end this storyline.
Have they got problems in real life? Is that why they're bringing it into storyline, or do you just both agree to it?
I think Vince is still secretly annoyed at the whole engagement angle. Well, not engagement angle, but Lana going to social media to show the engagement ring when they were supposed to be having that Rusev, Summer Rae, Lana and Dolph Ziggler love quadrangle or whatever they were calling it. So this is obviously Vince getting his own back by the sounds of it. As I say, less said about this storyline the better. The sooner they end it, the better.
I'd agree on that.
And basically, if this is a Heyman idea, this is a very bad idea from him, and he needs to come up with better ideas than this. Moving on, Andrade going up against Sin Cara. He wins this match against Sin Cara after hitting the hammerlock DDT. This is just shortly after Selena Vega, his business associate, hits a sunset flip powerbomb on Sin Cara from the ring apron. Pretty straightforward again. Andre being pushed a bit, so yeah. Then backstage segments revolving around the 24/7 championship. New champion crowned in Sunil Singh. The traditional roll-up pin that seems to happen with this 24/7 championship after his brother distracts R-Truth. This would lead on later on in the night to R-Truth trying to get his title back, thinking he's pinning the right Singh brother, but actually pins the wrong one. The Singhs get off the evening with 24/7 championship. Next up, the Raw Tag Champions, the Viking Raiders, defeat Ryder and Hawkins. Hawkins getting beat after the Viking experience. Again, this just continues the Viking Raiders basically dominating every single team on Raw. Then next up, we get a segment. It starts off with Rey Mysterio coming to the ring, but then Shelton Benjamin comes out, starts taunting Rey, basically tries to say, so all you have to do around here is get a title shot is start pushing you around, is it? Starts pushing him like, oh, what's that? Oh, no, that's only a US title shot. Oh, that's an Intercontinental Championship shot. He's doing this basically because he doesn't think Cain Velasquez is in the building. He's proven wrong shortly after Cain Velasquez comes down, even though Shelton Benjamin clearly is terrified of this non-wrestler. He still decides he's going to throw a punch his way, which leads to Velasquez getting him on the mat and hitting some of the worst punches you'll ever see in the ring. Obviously, this just proves that Velasquez isn't trained properly yet, and his title match with Lesnar is probably going to be one of the worst choreographed title matches to have on the card. But again, this is what you get when you bring in outside wrestlers. But I'm assuming that his match with Lesnar is going to be more of a UFC style brawl.
You'd think so,
because they've been putting across the fact of Velasquez is going to give Lesnar a match in Scar. But yeah, that's basically that one. Then you get Seth Rollins going up against Humberto Carrillo. Apparently Carrillo being brought onto the main roster. He's been brought up because, again, Vince's infatuation with getting the next Mexican star, because obviously you can't push Rey Mysterio anymore. Carrillo seems to be his guy, which I have feelings about anyway that this was going to happen. Basically, even though it's Universal Champion going up against a former cruiserweight, it's a pretty even match. Even though Rollins gets the victory after his super kick and stomp finishes, show respect after the match with Rollins shaking Carrillo's hand, like Taker with Jeff Hardy after the title ladder match. But yeah, I think that's basically just giving Carrillo the rub because Vince wants to have him as the next Mexican star. Then move on to the main event. The Street Profits finally having a match on Raw. Now they're finally a member of the Raw roster, basically. Going up against the OC, Gallows and Anderson. Even though leading up to this, it was a bit confusing. In my eyes, I thought they were leading this up to be a 6-man tag match, including AJ, because we were sort of talking about the OC, about Street Profits finding a third person, basically, to help out. But yeah, no, it just transpires into a standard tag team match, although AJ Styles at ringside. The match winds down. AJ's been getting involved in the match, but towards the end of the match, the referee catches him trying to attack one of the Street Profits. This leads to the referee ordering AJ's to the back, but before that happens, the third person emerges, and it's Kevin Owens. So basically, AJ tries to rush him, but Kevin Owens ducks, hits him with a stunner. Street Profits hit a spine buster and a frog splash, and basically, first match on Raw, they get the victory, basically. They're another act that Heyman is strong on, so expect them to get a few more. And yeah, that will pretty much conclude the week's wrestling.
Yeah, I know we've gone on long enough on this one. We'll try and make it a bit short for next time. If we've missed anything about the week's wrestling,
I highly doubt it with the length of the show that was.
But yeah,
if we have.
Comment down below. If there's something you disliked or thought you agreed with us, also comment down below. Is there any news or rumours you'd like to add? Let us know.
And just in closing, like, share, subscribe.
Yeah, and we'll see you in next week's video.